Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. I'm Antara and you're watching Point Break. 2 weeks ago, something happened that most people outside the AI industry barely noticed. Anthropic's Mythos preview model was withdrawn following a US government directive. I'm Antara. This is Point Break. Let's get right into it. I have with me three guests today, three very different lenses on the same question. Nandagopal P is the CEO of Asymmetry, a technology company he has built by scaling over 50 businesses across agri-tech, healthcare, and enterprise software. He's a TEDx speaker, a fractional CTO to multiple startups, and somebody who has spoken on data sovereignty at Global Family Office Investment Summit in Lake Como. He understands what it means when access to technology is not guaranteed. Nandagopal, welcome to Point Break. On to our second guest, Amrit Raj, who is the co-founder of Future Mind Institute and Women in Product India. He works daily with founders building the next generation of AI-first companies in India and across Southeast Asia as well. He understands what the access question means from the perspective of people actually building products on top of these models. Amrit, it's a pleasure to have you back on Point Break with us. And Dinesh Jotwani, who is our third guest, is the co-managing partner of Jotwani Associates, a multi-specialty law firm with over 40 advocates and professionals. He has nearly 30 years of legal practice spanning Fortune 100 companies, multinationals, startups, and of course individuals as well. He holds 2 US patents related to e-discovery processes. He teaches cybersecurity patents and intellectual property at Delhi University, IIT Delhi, Amity, and Symbiosis. And he has seen from the legal front line how technology policy and intellectual property interact at a global scale. Dinesh, a very warm welcome to you on Point Break.
Thank you. Thank you, Antara.
With that, gentlemen, let's start with the events themselves, because I think a lot of people heard the news and moved on from without really sitting with what it means. Anthropic's Mythos preview, which is one of the most capable frontier AI models available, was withdrawn following a US government directive, and then it was selectively restored, but only to a handful of organizations. OpenAI's GPT 5.6 is being rolled out through vetted partners and not openly. That is not, I believe, a company decision. This is, a government exercising control over who gets, to access powerful AI. So, Dinesh, my first question is to you. From a legal and intellectual property perspective, what is actually happening here when, when a government directs a private company to restrict access to its own product? What legal framework does that sit within? Is this trade law? Is this national security law, export control? How would you characterize it?
See, as far as the US export laws are concerned, they have been in place from decades.
Right.
I have been personally involved in some of the technology issues, export issues, and they were always there. There was controls, there were representations, there were exemptions that used to happen always. But this time, a sudden blackout that happened, I would call it a blackout because suddenly these two, services by Anthropics were withdrawn, and suddenly we saw this government order. And the official reason was, of course, it poses a cybersecurity threat, especially from China. It had those jailbreak code where you could actually go and get the information, or even put in a cybersecurity, or put in a code that would reveal a lot of information to the hacker. So official reason was that, and of course, if that was a true reason, that would have been appreciated. The only thing is there is a lot of politics that is going on between Anthropic and Washington at this point of time, and we have to be mindful of that.
Certainly.
Most of the AI solutions or engines that are there, these problems are always there. The amount of massive data, the tokenization that these two applications did was in massively in millions of tokens that would be released in output, or in the context that you would use in an AI.
Right.
So keeping that in view, I think the U.S. government wanted. I mean, we cannot say what was the reason, but there is something. It is presumed that they are getting much more stronger than even the governments. They have much more information. They know about the people much more. There's a data protection, there are data privacy issues that would come,
Yeah.
and massively these applications would be ahead of even US government intelligence, they would say. So there is, of course, a politics that is going on, uh, because if there is a private organization that is able to process that data quickly, know about people quickly across the globe, and then there is a US government that's supposed to be the most powerful country in the world. So that tussle will remain for a while. So we should see it in that context. And of course, there are advantages and there are disadvantages for the US government itself in bringing out that order. We know if you restrict technology, you restrict innovations also, and you have a big
Absolutely.
this government has a big competitor.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so these are some competition issues, but from legal perspective, uh, I think Washington had the power to exercise it, and they tried to do it, and then they withdrew a little bit, made the notification a little milder, giving some exceptions to some organizations. So that will keep on happening. But at this point of time, I think from countries like India, where there is a lot of ecosystem for AI to grow, we have to be very careful in depending on the foreign AI technologies. So that's from, again, from legal perspective, I would like to say
Right.
that we have to be cautious about it. Yeah.
Understood. Understood, Dinesh. And thank you for answering that, with so much clarity.
Yes.
Yeah. Dinesh, India's IT companies, startups, enterprises have built significant capability on top of tools that are ultimately controlled by foreign governments. From a legal standpoint, what does that dependency really mean? Is there a contractual, regulatory, or intellectual property framework that sort of protects Indian users, or are they essentially at the mercy of US policy?
So, so the US companies, the foremost important thing for them is protecting their intellectual property rights. Okay. Uh, Whether they have a platform, whether they have a mark, whether they have any code, immediately it gets protected. So the depend and see, ultimately it depends on resources. They have resources to carry on research and development for years and years and decades. So, though India has a lot of talent, and personally, I told you I also hold two US patents
Yes.
myself. Though India is a very innovative country, we have a talent that can match any anywhere in the world. But at the same time, as I mentioned, it's a question of intellectual property. Are we able to invest in that intellectual property rights or not? And ultimately, it comes to our resources. Can we sustain research? Will Government of India support research for 5 years? And mind you, when you innovate, there are failures. They, out of 10, maybe 8 of these inventions may fail, but the two of them which will survive may result in your AI model being used by rest of the world. It can happen so. It can happen so. And our engineers can develop things which are much cheaper cost than than you can get from China or US models. So I would ultimately mention that there has to be a investment. There has to be a tolerance for failure. Failure should not look like, oh, you once failed, you should be out. No. And then, in from intellectual property rights perspective, if you have developed a new AI frontier model, go and protect it all across the world. And it is an expensive. As a lawyer, I can tell you it is very expensive to protect your innovation across world. In India, you can still do it, but but we are talking about protecting in each and every country where your AI model is being used. As I say, the foreign companies do it in India. The first thing they do, they come out with an invention, they haven't even published it, they would file a patent in India and in rest of the world. So if there is a AI model or a AI feature or a AI invention, they will file it in US and immediately in the rest of the world. So do we have those pockets? Will the government of India support that? Is a big challenge for us. It is easier saying that India has talent. Of course, nobody denies that. No one denies we have a talented workforce. But do we have resources? Do we uh, do we appreciate failures? Okay, do we see long term that this product is going to be successful after 4 or 5 years? I remember I used to attend some meetings of a startup that was a US based, and they spent like months deciding on whether it's the strategy part of it. Okay, uh, can can you have Indian workforce just discussing things whether it will be successful 5 years? How much is a big market? Who it will cater to? Okay, pricing of the same. They haven't even started. The strategizing is taking months. So that means there are resources who are discussing this for months. What are the legal issues? Which database the AI is going to take information from? What are the data sets in India present? Are they open source? Uh, so how can they tackle the open source? So I'm talking from legal perspective again.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, there needs to be investment. At the end of the day, Tara, it looks good. We are talented, but at the end of the day, we need government support. We need uh, tolerance for failures.
Yes.
We need tolerance and strategizing. And first of all, I in Indian companies, I don't find the strategizing or the brainstorming sessions, as they say, uh, looking at the product, whether it will be successful in the market or not, uh, and involving a patent attorney at the beginning. I mean, that's very important. I've seen. I have a computer science background myself, so I know the moment you have a new feature, you protect it as involving lawyers at the first stage itself.
Okay.
So again, from legal perspective, you have to change your mindset.
Right.
Okay, that mindset, the resources, and we have a potential. I may not necessarily always agree with Nandan Nilekani's statement.
Absolutely.
That let's focus on app part of it, but let's focus on research part of it is also essential for India to win this game in AI finally.
There's one
Certainly.
more big challenge also. If you see
Yes.
filing a patent and getting a trademark, right? All these things are very challenging, and that involves a lot of red tape and a lot of waiting. Like we have filed for a trademark, it has been more than 1.5 years, and it is just not coming through. And I know many of my founder friends, okay, they build crazy good technology. Okay, one of my friend has built a lamp for blind people which reads and translates into audio file.
Okay.
So that's a very good product, and apparently they got a patent after 3 years of application.
3 years.
So there's a lot of these things, and 3 years is a huge amount of time if you see from the AI perspective, right? By the time you get patent, someone would have copied and get ahead with that. So that is also one big challenge I would say in the Indian ecosystem. Adding to Dinesh's point.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. That's another challenge, not only resources, but the legal system itself. Okay. If you want innovation to thrive, if you want economy to thrive, there has to be a very strong legal system. I am a part of this legal system. So I know exactly what needs to change. And I really appreciate for any business to thrive, any new products to come, any new innovation to come into the market and hit it publicly, not only in India, abroad. You need a strong legal system at the end of the day. I could see there was a time when patents um, were being granted on time within 1 year, but suddenly some judgment came and they say no, it has to be only granted by certain controllers, patent controllers. that prohibited, again, we are back to 3 years and 4 years of granting of patent. So the government had an intention, then the High Court intervened, then there is an appeal that is pending. So it's a complex web of legal web that we need to, that is another challenge, and that we need to take care of for us to be competitive globally,
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, that,
Ladies and gentlemen, and whoever is tuned in right now, what this conversation has made clear is that we are sort of at an inflection point. For the last decade, access to AI has largely been open. The models were available, the APIs were cheap, and the assumption was that the infrastructure of intelligence would be a commons. That assumption by itself is now being tested, and the answer is not yet clear. What is clear is this, that countries and companies that have built their AI futures entirely on dependency, on the assumption that access will always be there, are now facing a question that they were not prepared for. The question is not whether to pursue sovereignty, the question is how fast and at what cost really. And for India, that question is very urgent. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming on Point Break. This has been a fascinating conversation. And for viewers who are tuned in, thank you for watching. Do stay tuned. We'll see you again next episode.